You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Athan Hristodulu.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Athan Hristodulu. It is January 26th, 2022, and it is time today to start doing our previews for the championship games coming up this Sunday. We have the Chiefs taking on the Bengals in Kansas City as the first game up that we are previewing. So make sure you hit that like button, comment down below who you think is going to win and by how much, and get ready for some previewing as I go over and discuss some must things to watch as we go through this game. So the Cincinnati Bengals rolling into Kansas City. They already have a 34-31 victory over the Chiefs earlier this year. They did it in week, I believe, 17, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the second to last week of the season, if I'm remembering correctly here. But a big win nonetheless, one that a lot of people did not see coming, and a win that I predicted as well. So there's a lot riding on this game. Obviously, Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow bringing the Bengals into their first AFC championship since the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. There is a lot riding on the line here for both Kansas City and the Bengals. The Bengals on a path that is just trending nowhere but up, and then the Chiefs, who have kind of been there and done that already 3 times over. This is their now 4th straight AFC championship appearance. Both teams have a lot to gain. They have a lot to lose. So let's talk. Who is going to be the X factor for both of these teams? The deciding factor in how this game plays out and who comes out the winner. When you look at the Bengals, you got a team that has a lot of firepower and some young firepower at that. Jamar Chase, obviously, standout rookie. Jesse Bates, the safety. My goodness, has he turned into an absolute star in that secondary. Trey Hendrickson, the big money free agent that they brought in. The guy had 14 sacks on the year, and he has done nothing but disrupt the passer each and every single game this year. And then, of course, the running back, Joe Mixon, been an outstanding running back, the guy that has kept his offense balanced and kept defenses honest so that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow can cook up some trouble over there through the air. But for the Bengals, the guy that I think who needs to step up the most, especially based off of how the Chiefs game went against the Bills just this past week, has got to be none other than the quarterback himself, Joe Burrow. Versus the Titans, he had 348 yards, an interception, but he did complete 75.7% of his passes. The guy was on fire despite the heavy pass rush that was coming his way, and that one rogue interception. I mean, when you're getting pressured the way you are, you're getting beat up as much as you are. I think that, an interception here or maybe there is definitely something you could see happening, and I think Joe Burrow probably did the most considering the situation that he was in that you could possibly do. The first time these two teams met, Joe Burrow had a ridiculous game. 446 yards, 4 touchdowns. He completed near 77% of his passes. That is the type of game that Joe Burrow is going to need to be able to take down the Bills once again. On the Chiefs side, the X factor for them, who needs to stand out the most? You, of course, have Travis Kelce, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Tyrann Mathieu, not sure if he's going to play, but of course, a leader of that defense. There are just too many stars to name on this team, but the one that is going to have a big game, because the last time these two teams played, he had a solid game, but not a great game, and they ultimately lost, has got to be the quarterback himself of the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Yes, both of these quarterbacks need to have massive games if they want to come out the winner here. It is a quarterback-driven league. We just saw what Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes did on Sunday night during that divisional round matchup, and I think we're going to get something pretty similar to that between the Bengals and Chiefs here again in Kansas City. Last week, Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 75% completion, 378 yards through the air. He had 69 rushing and a touchdown on the ground as well. Those are monster numbers that actually are better than what he did in their first meeting with the Bengals at only 259 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pretty solid completion percentage, though, just a little bit over 74%. He needs to have a game much closer to what he had against the Bills rather than what he had the last time they played the Bengals if this team wants to come out the winner. They fell short only by 3, but fell short nonetheless. And when you look at the differentiating factors of the Bills taking their loss to the Chiefs last week and the Bengals beating the Chiefs just a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, whatever it may be, the deciding factor, how well did Patrick Mahomes play? The Bengals, they took down the Chiefs. He had a better game than Patrick Mahomes. The Bills, they lost to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes had a better game than Josh Allen. I'm not saying it just boils down to quarterback play, but at this stage in the game, with these offenses that are going up against each other, it is a huge deciding factor. But now, beyond the quarterbacks, some other things we need to talk about, some other things that I'll be watching as we go through this game that I think will be important to keep an eye on and will ultimately lead to the final decision of this game. The first one has got to be the pass protection of the Cincinnati Bengals. I already mentioned it. Joe Burrow was rocked all game long against the Titans, and honestly, it was a miracle for him to have the game that he had and not have more turnovers, maybe some fumbles. I mean, the fact that Joe Burrow made it out of that game unscathed is nothing short of a miracle, to be quite honest with you guys. 9 sacks, and he was sacked 4 times the first time that they met up against Kansas City. That is not a recipe for success, and the Kansas City Chiefs are not one of those teams that gets to the quarterback all too often. They were only 29th in the league with 31 sacks. So not only is Kansas City not the best at getting to the quarterback, the Bengals kind of made them look better than they were the last time that these two teams played. There is no way, in my opinion, that the Bengals can come out winners in this game if they are not protecting Joe Burrow better than they did against the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Chiefs' defense, their pass rush, not the same as Tennessee. Tennessee, in my opinion, is much more of an aggressive unit, and they're much more efficient at getting at the quarterback. But they let up 4 sacks the last time these two teams met. They just let up a 9-sack game to the Titans. There's obviously some sort of issues going on over there with the Bengals offensive line in pass protection. And I think that what they need to do is Cincinnati needs to try to move the pocket a little bit more, get Burrow to go more to the outside and not just stand in the pocket and eat all these crazy sacks. He needs to move around. He needs to stay mobile. He needs to keep the defense guessing and make them pay for their aggression. Second thing that I'll be watching, and this one I think is going to be huge for the Kansas City Chiefs because it has been a storyline for them all year long. When their offense is clicking, this isn't happening, but when their offense is stumbling, it's happening all the time. The Chiefs, they need to continue to protect the football. 25 turnovers on the year, ranked 23rd in the league. That's tied at 23rd. During the playoffs so far, they've done a pretty solid job. 1 fumble, 1 interception versus the Steelers. However, that fumble was returned for a touchdown. And when that fumble return happened, there was a moment where I sat there and I thought, wait a second, are these Chiefs going to blow this game against the Steelers? And how are we going to see Pittsburgh move on? Obviously, did not happen. The rest is history. Chiefs are now in the AFC Championship. But they need to stay away from that. The Bengals are a much better team at turning the ball over and taking advantage of the turnovers that they get on defense. I mean, Bengals are 12 turnovers on offense. They don't turn the ball over on defense. They're able to force those turnovers, pick the ball off, or scoop up fumbles, and their offense is explosive enough to get into the end zone and score on those. You need to make sure that you are protecting this football. The ball is not bouncing off the hands of your wide receivers and into defenders' hands. Mahomes is not dropping the ball, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Tyreek Hill. There were so many freak turnovers this year for Kansas City, and the majority of those games where they were turning the ball over, they came out with losses. They were going against teams that took advantage of that and made them look like fools. However, when they're protecting the ball, they are one of the most efficient offenses in the league. And obviously that was on full display just last week against the Bills, and no turnovers, and you saw what they could do. They pretty much scored on just about every single drive that they played in, which brings me to my final point in this track meet that we are probably running ourselves into here with the Chiefs and the Bengals. Can the Bengals go shot for shot again with the Kansas City Chiefs, but this time in Kansas City? We just watched the Chiefs score on 8 of their 11 offensive drives, and it could have been 9 had Harrison Butker not missed that field goal right before halftime. The last time these two teams met, the Bengals did score on 6 of 9 drives. first 2 times they played. The big question is, can Cincy score as often, but also as fast as Kansas City can? I think one of the most jaw-dropping things that came out of that game last week was that ending where you saw touchdown drives lasting anywhere from a minute 30 or 49 seconds for, I'm reading off numbers here for Kansas City. When we saw the Chiefs scoring in under a minute, they had the 13-second drive that went for the field goal. Before that, I believe it was somewhere, I think it took them about 48 seconds or so to score that touchdown before Buffalo ended up scoring the last touchdown they scored of the game. When you look at what the Bengals have done, they have been able to score. They had a 90-second drive and a 49-second drive of 2 touchdowns going up against Kansas City the first time they met. Can they do that consistently enough? Can they go shot for shot? Can they do what Josh Allen did towards the end of that game and answer a quick touchdown strike from the Chiefs with an even quicker strike of their own? I think that's probably going to be what really boils down to the Chiefs ultimately either taking a win or a loss here against a team that's already beaten them once. If the Bengals can keep up, and not only keep up, but score as fast as they're scoring, and in my opinion, even potentially stop this potential track meet from happening that I think we're going to be running ourselves into, the Bengals have a shot. They can score quick. They can score often. It's just a matter of, can you score quicker and more often than a Kansas City Chiefs team that for the last 4 years now has made it to the AFC Championship on the back of a high-powered, 600 horsepower offense that has just steamrolled the competition these last few years. The Bengals might be able to do it. We'll have to see, but I'm very curious to see if they can do it and do it again. They already did it once this year, but it is very hard to beat a team twice in the same year, let alone a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if I was to pick out one specific thing for both of these teams that kind of concerns me and I find as like a really big disadvantage for both of them, for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's got to be that pass defense. Not only did they struggle against the Bills last week, but the last time that these two teams met, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase literally had a field day. It was one of the most incredible things we've seen from a rookie wide receiver in NFL history. I mean, and you thought the dominating season that Randy Moss had when he was a rookie was impressive, and it was. Jamar Chase almost, you could argue, did it better. And honestly, I'm to help you guys understand, I think Randy Moss is the greatest wide receiver of all time. I'll just throw that out there to help you put the context around what I'm about to say here. I think Jamar Chase did it better as a rookie compared to what Moss did as a rookie. 11 catches, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. That is the type of game you need to have to take down the Chiefs. And there's obviously some very glaring holes in that Kansas City secondary because when things got out of hand, they let the Bills score really quick. And granted, the Bills let them score even faster than they did, and that's why the Bills lost. I would say that the Bengals defense is maybe comparable, maybe a little bit on the lower side in terms of ability to stop them, stop the Chiefs, excuse me. But I don't know if they're going to be able to hold. And with what the Chiefs have been doing on offense, it's probably going to turn into a track meet. But the last time that they met, it really just boiled down to the Bengals were able to outscore them and get more points into the end zone or get more opportunities into the end zone, whatever I'm trying to say here. The Bengals scored a lot. The Chiefs allowed a lot to get by them. We know the weaknesses of the Bengals at this point. The weaknesses of the Chiefs kind of starting to rear their ugly head again after having a really solid second half of the year. I'm concerned about this pass D. Josh Allen torched them. And I've been concerned about the Bengals all year long, but now you have to be concerned about the Chiefs having these issues again against the Bengals team that, Joe Burrow was hot the last few weeks of the season. And while maybe not having quite the same couple of games these last few weeks, he's done what he's needed to do to win. I'm concerned for this Chiefs pass D. We'll have to see. They only really have to play better than the Bengals to win this game, in my opinion. For the Bengals side, if I was to pick one disadvantage and one glaring disadvantage at that, and I think this is a pretty obvious one, it's got to be Zach Taylor. I don't doubt what he can do. I don't doubt his ability as a coach. But if there's one thing that's a fact, he's inexperienced. This is Andy Reid's 4th straight AFC Championship game, and Andy Reid has played in the NFC Championship a few times as well. He has been around the block multiple times in this very same stage. He has won games. He has lost games. I love the run that the Bengals are currently on, and I am so excited to see what they do going forward. I think Zach Taylor has been one of the biggest surprises at in a head coaching position this year out of anybody, but I'm concerned about when it comes down to crunch time. The Bills lost last week against the Chiefs because of crunch time decision-making that went the wrong way. They squib kicked that kickoff. The Chiefs don't have the 10 seconds they needed to get down to the field. They might only have... everyone's talking about it took them 13 seconds to score. It did, but it took them 10 seconds to set up that field goal. They needed to have 8 seconds on the board to be able to win that game. I don't want to see Zach Taylor fall victim to that same poor decision-making, that same heat-of-the-moment decision-making, and I really hope that he is looking at those things and understanding that if it comes down to something like that, where you are putting the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hand with only a handful of seconds left, the Bills trusted their defense, and they could not get it done. I don't know where you would rank the Bills' defense in relation to the Bills, or no, I'm sorry. I don't know where you'd rank the Bengals defense in relation to the Bills, but the Bills had one of the better passing defenses in the league, if not one of the best. Do not make the same mistakes. Be smart about your decision-making. Save the timeouts when you can. I think one of the craziest things to look at was when the Bills had practically no time left. They were able to get down to the end zone and score for that 4th touchdown that Gabriel Davis had that day. But they had no timeouts on the clock, and that was basically like a necessity right there. The Chiefs, though, had a couple of timeouts in the back pocket. They were basically able to do whatever they wanted. That's the type of coaching and late game, not even late game decision making, but like mid game decision making that allows for very easy late game decision making. I don't know if Zach Taylor's ready for that kind of stuff. I certainly know Andy Reid is, because the fact that they were in that position to have 2 timeouts and all of that and be able to put together what they did was phenomenal. My big question for the Bengals, Zach Taylor, can you match that? As for my final score, my winner, who's going to come out on top? Looking at the numbers right now, you know what? I actually did not update these right before I went into recording this. I'm going to double check them in my notes here just to make sure. Okay, it's still the same. The Chiefs are sitting at -7 on the spread. Bengals at +7. Over-under sits at 54.5. For the over-under, I take the over. The last time these two teams met, 34-31 was the final score. I definitely think something like that is very possible once again. For the Bengals or Chiefs +7, which one do I like more? The Chiefs -7 is probably the safe bet. It makes sense to me. I feel like this game comes down to something along those lines where it's either going to be close, but it might be a little bit more than a possession. It might be a little bit less, just depending on how scoring is going and who makes a mistake and who doesn't. Bengals +7 though, I think is an awesome like dark horse to go for. But if I was being completely honest with you guys, I don't really know which way to go here. And I never give betting advice when I go over these. I just kind of give my thoughts and opinions. If you're betting on over-unders, I love the over on this one. But when it comes to betting against the spread or for the spread or whatever, picking if the Chiefs can cover or not, I really don't know in this one. And I don't want to sway anyone's opinions by giving my own opinion. So on this one, I really don't know, because I think that this one is it's kind of bizarre to me. I guess if I have an opinion on this, it's bizarre to me that it's such a large favorite for Kansas City. I understand it's in Kansas City, but I'm rather shocked that Vegas really thinks the Bengals ultimately does not stand a chance in this game for them to be such a large underdog. As for my winner and who I think comes out on top, I'm going to say this right now, Bengals. You are in for one hell of a game. I am so excited to watch this. I'm picking the Chiefs, though. And I'm hoping that reverse psychology wins out for me and that by picking the Chiefs, the Bengals come out the winner because I am rooting for the Bengals. But I'm picking the Chiefs for my winner for this game. I think the final score is going to be somewhere around the lines of 38-34. That's my final score prediction. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, and I think it comes down to who has the ball last. Whether that goes into overtime or not, I don't know, but I think it comes down to whoever has the ball last. Give me the Chiefs 38-34. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. AFC Championship preview is wrapped up. NFC Championship will be coming your guys' way in another day or so. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that. Hit that subscribe button and let me know who you think wins in the comment section down below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.